the humidity in the air was suddenly replaced by the acrid sting of cordite. Matteo didn't run immediately. Panic was the luxury of amateurs, and in the sprawling labyrinth of Rocinha, panic was a death sentence. He moved with the calculated fluidity of a predator navigating a forest fire, his rifle held tight against his chest, barrel lowered, but ready. The sounds from the Laborio sector above were not just the chaotic staccato of gunfire anymore. They were the sounds of a systematic sweep. The third command wasn't just shooting, they were clearing rooms, and they were doing it with the enthusiastic help of the residents. Matteo descended the narrow, winding staircase that connected his command post to the main alleyways of the Valao sector. His boots splashed into puddles of stagnant water mixed with the runoff of leaked sewage, the eternal perfume of the favela. Through the open windows of the shacks lining the stairs, he didn't see families cowering under beds as they had in the old wars. Instead, he saw shadows moving with purpose. He saw a grandmother pointing out a hidden ADA weapons cache to a squad of invaders dressed in black tactical gear. He saw the very people Cobra had taxed for protection now stripping the barricades away to let the enemy through. The social contract hadn't just been broken, it had been incinerated. "Control, this is Sector 4. They are coming through the walls. The walls, man! The locals are smashing the holes for them!" A voice crackled over Matteo's earpiece. It was aggressive, terrified, and young, likely one of the new recruits Cobra had forced into service. Then Cobra's voice cut through the static, distorted by rage and the poor signal. "Hold the line, you filth! Burn the houses if you have to! Anyone who retreats is dead by my hand before the enemy gets them! Shoot the civilians if they interfere! Total resistance!" Matteo reached up and pulled the earpiece out, letting it dangle against his tactical vest. Listening to Cobra now was listening to a ghost screaming at a rising tide. The order to shoot civilians was the final nail in the coffin. If the ADA soldiers opened fire on the residents now, the favela would literally swallow them whole. There were 70,000 people in Rocinha, and perhaps 200 loyal soldiers left. The math was impossible. Matteo reached the junction of Estrada da Gavia. The streetlights had been shot out, plunging the main artery into a gloom illuminated only by the erratic flashes of muzzle fire from the hillsides above. He needed to make it to the safe house in the Bairro Barcelos, where he had stashed a civilian change of clothes, a fake ID, and enough cash to buy passage out of Rio. But between him and Barcelos lay the curve of the S, a notorious choke point now likely swarming with 3rd Command shock troops. He hugged the wall of a bakery, the metal shutters rattled by a nearby explosion. Suddenly, 3 figures burst from an alleyway to his left. Matteo raised his rifle instinctively, the red dot of his sight hovering over the center mass of the lead figure. "Don't shoot! Boss, it's us!" It was Leo, a 19-year-old runner for the organization, flanked by 2 others. They were covered in dust, their eyes wide plates of terror. They still held their weapons, but their posture screamed surrender. "Matteo, Cobra is crazy!" Leo gasped, his chest heaving. "He just shot Davi! He shot him in the head because Davi said we needed to fall back. The 3rd Command, they aren't killing everyone. They're offering amnesty if we drop the guns. What do we do?" Matteo looked at the boy. He remembered teaching him how to clean a pistol 2 years ago. In a different world, Leo would be studying or playing football. In this world, he was cannon fodder for a king who had lost his crown. "Listen to me," Matteo said, his voice low and steady, cutting through the noise of the war. "Drop the rifles, now. Leave them in the gutter. Take off your vests. Rip the ADA patches off your shirts." "But Cobra!" "Cobra is a dead man walking," Matteo interrupted, grabbing Leo by the shoulder. "The 3rd Command is hunting for combatants. If you look like a soldier, you die like one. If you look like a scared kid, you might live. Go to your aunt's house in the lower sector. Stay away from the windows. Do not pick up a radio." The boys hesitated for only a second before stripping off their tactical gear, leaving the expensive rifles lying in the mud. As they vanished into the darkness, transforming back into civilians, Matteo felt a strange weight lift. He wasn't saving the organization anymore. He was salvaging the human wreckage. He continued alone. The gunfire was getting closer, heavy caliber rounds chewing through the brickwork of the buildings above him. The 3rd Command was using heavy machine guns to suppress the ADA rooftops while their infantry moved on the ground. It was a professional military tactic, vastly superior to the gangbanger skirmishes of the past. Matteo turned into a narrow alley known as Becco du Ratto, Rat's Alley. It was a shortcut, barely wide enough for 2 men to pass shoulder to shoulder. Halfway down, he froze. At the end of the alley, silhouetted against the burning glow of a torched car, stood a silhouette. Heavy armor, night vision goggles flipped down, an elite soldier of the 3rd Command. He saw him. There was no time for negotiation, no time for whispers. The silence of the alley shattered. Matteo dove into a doorway as bullets chipped the concrete where his head had been a microsecond before. He scrambled into a cramped living room of an abandoned shack, the air instantly filling with dust and debris. Trapped. He was pinned down in a dead-end room with a superior enemy force closing in on the entrance. Matteo checked his magazine. 12 rounds. He pulled his combat knife with his left hand, holding the rifle with his right. He wasn't going to die cowering in a shack. If this was the end of the story, he would make sure the punctuation mark was violent. But as he prepared to rush the door, he heard a sound that chilled him more than the gunfire. It was the sound of a heavy chain rattling at the back door of the shack, a door that was supposed to be boarded up. Someone was opening it from the outside. Friend or foe? In the chaos of Rosinha's fall, the line had vanished completely. The door creaked open, revealing the humid night air and a hand reaching out from the darkness.